This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
This is Everything Elite, presented by MyBookie, the world's best podcast devoted exclusively to all elite wrestling and the elite extended universe, and the best podcast presented by MyBookie, for that matter. I'm AB, Aaron Bentley. You know me if you listen to the show. I'm assuming you do. I'm joined, as always, by two wonderful co-hosts. I'm going to introduce one of them first, and it's, I was going to say the Miami Man himself, but I guess that really doesn't help. But the Miami Man himself, it's Mike Spears. What's up, Mike?
Hey, y'all. It's your old pal, Iron Mike Spears. I'm doing all right. We are recording this before the first Miami game of the season. It is your 0-0 Miami Hurricanes going against the 1-0 University of Alabama, Birmingham. You know, big game, big college football. That's all that's on everyone's mind right now, of course, is college football and big games coming up. Like, nothing else is going on in the world. Nothing else in the United States is happening right now. But you know what? I'm doing good. I am wearing my green tracksuit today, not only for the Miami football game, but also for one of the big debuts we will be talking about tonight. So I'm pretty amped and ready to go. How are you doing, AB?
I'm good. Gucci equals green. So I'm excited to talk about that. Also joined by another Miami Man. What's up with that? It's Nate, a.k.a. Epitasis. What's up, Nate?
What's up, Aaron? I'm Gucci, just keeping it real over here. I got nothing going on. No Miami gear on from me. I'm wearing a black undershirt. Got some nice, what are these called? My socks by Den of Foxes or something like that. Pretty nice socks.
Are you
how
a
about you, Aaron?
socks guy?
I like some color on my socks. Yeah.
Okay.
That's, it's not anything nicer than like the Target brand, but Aaron, what are you rocking today? What's your fit of the day?
I am rocking the official Doves Defund and Disarm the Police t-shirt. Shout out to Doves. I'm rocking, it's after business hours. So I got the sweat shorts on. Shorts made of sweat pant material. That's it. I got the iWatch. Is that what it's called?
I think so. Yeah.
I got that.
It's called the
Apple Watch.
Apple Watch.
Yeah.
I got that. No socks, no shoes. I'm showing feet at this very moment. So
let's get him up here on the cam, buddy. Come on. What are we doing?
So that's really it.
$20 Patreon tier. See Aaron's feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to. I'll post feet all day. Although I don't know if feet people are into or against this, but I've had some real toe issues this week. I stubbed one toe, or actually what I think I did was I scraped it and it tore part of the nail. And then I don't know what I did to the other toe, but I was walking, I felt it happen. But then it turned a funny color and hurt really bad for about exactly 1 day. And then it went back to not hurting, but it's still funny colored. So do you think feet people would like this or dislike this?
I don't want to speak for feet people because I'm not personally a foot person.
Sure.
But just based on, I suppose, the sort of logical conclusions you would make, I would expect they would not be into weird and misshapen and miscolored toes on their feet of choice.
Counterpoint, the people who would be into it would be really into it.
Yeah, so we could make an even higher tier for that, maybe. Who was the woman who recently posted the really Joyce Carol Oates, who posted the really fucked up feet?
Yes.
Yes. Some people, hey, just post less. That's all.
Yeah.
You don't have to share everything.
Just didn't have to be posted. All right. If you want to see our feet pics,
Oh, is that okay? That's all we had on. I thought we were going to go another 5 minutes on feet, maybe. But okay,
I
that's
mean,
fine. I don't need to.
I mean, we could get into if we want to do what tier we want to do this on for just Aaron's feet. It's not going to be Nate or my feet. It's just going to be your feet. We decided, and of course,
I'll do socked feet.
Socked feet.
Show off
Your
some of
neat
my
ones.
Target brand colorful socks.
I mean, I can show off my really good Miami slides I have on.
Wow.
So
my man is Miami'd out.
He's decked out, head to toe.
There's
all
like
Miami
this.
everything.
I actually don't have
all
very
we do
much.
Is win.
I mean, 5 rings, no problems. But there's like a Miami streetwear company that's run by a former player that I got a blind box. I got this hat and I got these slides in, and then I got 3 Miami Hurricanes masks. It was a good time.
Friend of the show, Patrick Cosmos, has turned me on to the slides with fanny packs on them.
Okay.
I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like really into it. I want to get a pair.
What would you put in the fanny pack pocket?
Here's it's not a fanny pack if it's on your feet. It's a footy pack.
Footy pack.
Fanny, has the clear denotation of where it is. It's not a foot. It's on the fanny.
Well, a fanny is different in the United States lingo than it is in the UK too.
Yeah, but it's still in the same geographic region of your body.
General geographic region, yes.
What's a British fanny?
It's the reverse. It's the reverse of the American fanny.
Yeah,
I was afraid it was a kid thing since it's British.
No.
Okay, I guess I wear my fanny pack in the British way. Then I'm more of a front guy.
Yeah, but regardless, you wear it all the way around. It's not
true.
So it works either way. The point is, it's not at the very base of your body, which is the foot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key to the footy packs is going to be like you go into the beach, you just want to drop your keys in there. You just need something minimal. You don't want to carry your full fanny pack. You don't need all that. I would imagine it's also, like the original use of fanny packs. I would imagine that it's like a good place for probably carrying drugs if you wanted to. Can't speak to that, but I would imagine it would be.
I think that's fair to say. I mean, I wouldn't put chapstick down there, but drugs or keys, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just glad we're still talking feet because
I think this has been the quantity of feet talk I was looking forward to. So.
Okay.
I saw the look on Nate's face when we were about to cut away, and I was like, no, I can't let Nate down like this. We got to go another 3 minutes.
All right. Well, if you want to see some teaser feet pics, follow us on Twitter at everything AEW. I'm at Aaron Like the Car. Nate is at Epitasis. Mike is at Fuji Heya. You can subscribe to the podcast. Please do. Please give us a 5-star rating and review if you use the Apple Podcast app. And if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/everythingelite. We just had the live all-out instant reaction with our friend Adam, a.k.a. Wiccaphase Springs Eternal. So go check that out if you haven't.
There's a would-be scoop on there.
That's right.
I haven't seen it picked up anywhere like our previous Patreon scoop, but fun little factoid to bear in mind for the future.
Yeah, it's actually, it is behind a paywall, so I don't want to push it up too much. I don't want to, maybe you won't care, but it is a pretty cool little scoop. So, if you're already inclined to listen, go check it out. It's on the $5 tier. What are we going to
sell?
That's right. What are we going to do on this show? We're going to play Elite or Delete. We'll talk about Dynamite from last night. I'm sure we will talk about All Out, of course, in some ways. We'll talk about a big ratings night for AEW. And I'm confident we'll talk about what fucking day Dynamite's going to be on next week. I'm sure that'll come up at some point. But before we get started, or no, this is us getting started. But before we do what we normally do, we're going to talk about the topic that's on everybody's lips. It's on everybody's mind. It is Miroslav Barnyashev. I think that's right. To be Miro is all elite. Now,
yeah.
We're just going to get our takes off on Miro. I guess it's we usually start elite or delete with Nate. I'll go to you, Nate, but give me your overall thoughts on To Be Miro showing up in AEW.
So pretty happy to see 2B Miro here. If you didn't happen to catch the show, was introduced as Kip Sabian's best man for his upcoming nuptials with Penelope Ford, which in fact we also predicted on the All Out live reaction show. I was very fired up to see these Twitch streamers come together. Love the idea of the stream team as a duo. Very amused by that pairing, and Miro coming out here in general and being fired up to be in the good wrestling promotion and being paired with Kip Sabian, all just entirely in my wheelhouse. The segment was pretty goofy to begin with. They did some fake outs with Puff first coming out and trying to insinuate himself as the best man. And then the same played out with Brian Pillman Jr., all before Miro came down. And you knew he was the correct best man because he had music and everything. Seems like maybe, Kip Sabian could have just been like, hey, here's my best man. It's Miro, plays music. And then that would have avoided a lot of run around there. I feel like I think my overall decision on the angle, the segment, the introduction, it was not goofy enough. Here's what I would have liked to see. I would have liked them to hammer home more that they both love Twitch. Really, Miro got on the mic and started cutting what has been called a TNA ass promo, because he was talking about, being held down by Vince and the glass ceiling and the brass ring, all stuff you've heard, from TNA runoff guys times before. And really, the idea that he has some sort of relationship to Kip and he's going to be the best man at his wedding was left totally unexplored. Miro had not a lot of interest in that aspect of his introduction. And I wanted them to hammer that home. I wanted Miro to say poggers on the mic. I wanted them to, say other weird Twitch references. They need a sponsorship banner with NVIDIA and Case Fans on it. And I also, even if they're both on Twitch, it's not like I think they've interacted on Twitch before, right? So I needed some sort of backstory as to how they came together and how Miro came to be Kip's best man. And I decided I would have liked Kip to say that Miro is his long-lost Bulgarian cousin and then call him Cousin Miro throughout the entire segment. That's what I was looking for. But overall, super weird in a very entertaining way to me.
Yeah, like other than the TNA core promo line and talking about glass ceiling and brass rings, I was elated. I was just positively like cackling at this, that we got swagged out, dripped, handsome to be Miro out there as like Twitch friends. Like there's a lot in this vein to mine, Nate, about the whole Twitch thing. We could talk about how they met playing Warzone together, or maybe they were playing FIFA and then doing like this. We're going to need their opinions on the fact that Ninja's back on Twitch and that's going to be cutting into their subs, all like 400 of them combined. Also, I feel like that his theme, instead of being like this really crazy theme, should be like a lo-fi beats that you could stream without getting copyright infringed on Twitch. There's a lot of ways to go with this to make this really just more ridiculous. And hey, I was someone that it seemed like Miro was all about being the Twitch superstar and that becoming like his main vein here. But the idea of Miroslav, I can't pronounce his name as well. Barnishev. The idea of Miroslav Barnishev going into like the G1 and being like this absolute monster, I think that is a lot of like Western fan projecting and like understanding like what kind of roles they usually have for people in New Japan. And like, he probably would be like the Suzuki Gun, like hired assassin team of Minoru Suzuki in a World Tag League. Like that's probably what his reaction would be. Like he's not going to be like a John Moxley or a Chris Jericho, even though apparently he has like a similar to a Moxley like contract. But I feel like this was an unqualified win. I think that we're going to enter a world where I know Kara tweeted about this, that Kip Sabian's going to be managing just both Miro and Penelope Ford. And I think that's the best use of all three of them. And, like the only thing that would have been funnier is if he came out and like laid out Brian Pillman Jr. Like I've been down with him just like taking this geek and saying, yeah, you subscribe to him, but you don't subscribe to me. And then throwing him off the stage, just like lawn darting off the stage. Big win, great fit, just handsome man, handsome Miro's there. He's already a YouTube superstar, as I like tweeted earlier today. He's getting massive views that are exponentially higher than the views that other stuff on last night's show had. And I think that it's an unqualified success. And I'm excited to see where he goes. And I just the only thing I hope is that he doesn't have to cut like glass ceiling, brass ring, I'm Miroslav Barnshev, and I'm here to stay promos. I don't want any of that. I want them to be more goofy and more gamer-like.
Yeah, if he doesn't want to go hard on the gamer thing, then he should go hard on the Gucci thing. Stay away from the glass ceiling shit. Just hammer home, how much my fucking clothes cost, and not in like a Chris Jericho way, in like a, here's the receipts, go look this, Chrome Hearts jewelry up on the web store or whatever, and see how much I'm spending on this shit. Because, every wrestler in Japan is a bigger star than any wrestler in the U.S. because of how much money they spend on their wardrobe. That's just a fact. If you're putting more thought into whether clothes are cool beyond do young people like it and does it cost a lot of money, then you're spending too much thought on it, because that's all it is.
Yeah, if you haven't done a run-in in Louboutins, then I just don't really want to fucking talk to you or talk about you. So yeah, I was pretty surprised at some of the reaction, but it's look, I was just excited to see Miro come out. I was like, okay, here's a guy who was not used very well in WWE. Felt like he could have been a bigger star there. And now it's oh, cool. We're going to get a chance to see him in a totally different universe doing something different. So that's exciting. Then, as Mike ably pointed out, he's just, dripped to the fucking toes. And it's oh, this is cool. This guy looks cool. He's got the blonde hair. I don't follow on Instagram or whatever. So I had no idea he was going with this blonde hair look.
So the blonde hair, I don't know if you noticed, the blonde hair and the beard, it's the black and gold AEW colors.
Oh, is it? All right.
It didn't jump out at me until his post angle YouTube video that he put up, where he's just standing in front of the AEW logo, and it's yeah. It's right there.
I think what people are missing is that Rusev, this is the 2020 version of the Outsiders coming to WCW. If you remember the whole Outsiders thing, Kevin Nash has talked about this openly, was taking a whole vibe basically from the hip hop that was popular at that time to try to be cool so that people would see them as cool. And it's not like fucking hip hop fans were watching WCW, right? So that those fans would necessarily relate to them. It's just that that's what's cool in the population at large. And I think Miro is bringing a similar thing, but a much updated version to AEW here. And I just think it's one of those things where when the guy comes out and cuts the promo, which is tired, yes, that's okay to criticize. But my thing is, you have to let these guys live. They worked at that company for X years, putting up with metric tons of bullshit. And it's they want to get one little shot off in their promo. I don't have a problem with that. Now, if he comes out, that's what he does every week. Yeah, it's going to be okay, Miro, that's enough. But I don't have a problem with him getting his shots off. And I don't have a problem with the positioning. I agree with Nate that I would have liked to have heard more ridiculous reasoning as to why they actually have some relationship. I would have liked that. But
my cousin Miro and cousin Kip, that's money right there.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Fantastic.
But to me, you have all your top level stories are kind of already in motion. You know what you're doing there. So you can establish Miro in the middle of the card and let him pick up some wins and build him up organically to challenge at the top of the card. So I honestly can't imagine doing anything but enjoying this and being excited to see where it's going to go. So I thought it was great. And it was the most important thing was for Miro to not be Rusev when he came out, not do anything related to the Rusev character. And he didn't. He talked in his normal, what his normal voice sounds like. And he didn't do Miro Day. I mean, I know the crowd tried to do that, but he didn't really lean into it. So he just showed that this is something totally different. And I don't know. I'm excited to see where it goes.
On the point of Miro Day, I thought it was brilliant when Chris Jericho, told everybody to shut up with the list shit and the stupid idiot shit and was like, no, we're done. That's bad creative, whatever. We're moving past that. I think that was true because they, WWE, let's drive shit into the ground. They mined that for every last second and cent that Chris Jericho shtick was worth. But Miro in WWE was the last guy to organically get something over with Rusev Day to the point where, like, crowds were cheering for him and chanting for him far above his push, and in segments that he wasn't a part of. Like, he was, I guess maybe the only guy that's had a real significant elevation since then is maybe Kofi Kingston, and that's kind of a different animal there. So I think that's still like relatively fresh and was not strip mined like every other WWE catchphrase or whatever. So I almost don't even mind if they do that. Again, you don't want to drive anything into the ground, but if people organically are still into the idea of Miro Day, then I'm not against them running with it. And yeah, like, honestly, like, if you were a moneyed, young, good looking, athletic Eastern European guy, what do you think you would look like? You'd probably look a lot like Miro here. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just, it's amazing to me. I've checked out the entire Gucci X Disney collection.
Okay.
At this point.
All
and,
right.
It's just fucking sick. And, I don't think it's something I could rock. It's probably not me, but I'm not a buff, good looking, moneyed Eastern European guy. So, it's understandable. But what I'm interested most to see is Miro going to trot out the rest of his Gucci X Disney collection week by week, or are we going to see, completely different fits on a weekly basis?
I'm real intrigued to see what his inspirations are. I'm intrigued to see maybe if we get some Antisocial Social Club out of him, maybe some Balenciaga. I mean, he probably has a couple Supreme fits with him as well. There's a lot of ways to go with it. Like, my last big takeaway from this was a lot of people think like the serious brute thing, and maybe it's because I watched a lot of Total Divas when it started, and I watch a lot of trash TV, as we all know. This does feel like a lot more like how Rusev seems to be, with the caveat that, of course, all reality content is just as planned and formulated as scripted content. But I'm just happy to kind of see this guy kind of be himself. And he came out he's a guy who's lived in the States for almost 20 years at this point. So he shouldn't be coming out with doing a Yakov Smirnoff voice and be coming out with that. Instead, being the moneyed Eastern
in
European.
Communist Russia, Garfield bapes you.
What if that actually was his affectation, was talking about Disney Gucci you and something like that?
Yeah, that might actually be good, actually.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe go back to it if you're just making references to various streetwear brands.
My other point I wanted to make is I think people are projecting on, and I've been guilty of this in the past, of projecting something onto Miro that isn't him. I mean, the idea that he's like Ishii in New Japan is just maybe not true. The guy is a PC creation and is probably not a tape watcher, if I had to guess. I mean, I don't follow him, but I haven't heard him talk about all the stuff that he's into.
Well, AB, you do know who his initial trainers are, right?
I don't.
Well, one of them is Rikishi, and the other one is a Vampire Warrior Gangrel.
Okay, right. So, I mean, I'm not sure that this guy is trying to put on Misawa Kawada. I'm not sure that that's his whole thing. And I think Mike's right that what we saw on AEW last night is just closer to who Miro is as a guy. And if he could get over, if he could be something completely different and get that over in the Rusev character, I'm willing to wager that if he gets to be himself, he can get that over too on a main event level. Okay, well, that's how we were going to talk about Miro. I guess I don't get to pick the Gucci X Disney fit as my elite pick. So that's
I do. I want him to go also full Naito, but he comes to the ring not in a cosplay suit, but comes in different streetwear and luxury brands every week. Because he obviously, he could have been wearing his gear under what he wore on Dynamite the other night. So then you get him painstakingly taking off the Gucci, taking off the Yeezys, and then he's just got his trunks there ready to go. I think that'd be tremendous as well. Sorry, I was thinking about just more you could do. If you don't want to go full gamer and you want to go full Gucci, just go full one way or the other, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I would like that. I mean, that's a good idea. I'm interested to see what sort of gear he goes with now that he's getting to choose his own. I mean, I guess he got to choose his own a little before, but sometimes you see these guys switch it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if he'll go with the longer, trunks that he's been wearing, or something new. I don't know.
It should have, Louis Vuitton logos on it, one way or the other.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get back to how we normally start this show with a little elite or delete.
Delete! Elite! Delete! Elite! Delete! Elite! Elite! Delete! Elite! Delete!
So I guess we'll just take Miro out of the elite or delete portion of the show this time around. So Nate, what do you got? What was your favorite thing of the show?
I'll pick for my elite selection this week. Really the thing that surprised me the most on the show in terms of where it delivered. And that was the tag match between Chris Jericho and Jake Hager and Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. I thought this performed way above expectations for me. This is the most shine really that they've given certainly the team of Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss on Dynamite, and the most shine they've given either of them since, probably Janela versus Omega on one of those early Dynamites. That might have even been on a dark. But competitive match. Joey and Sonny were competitive and looked great after Jericho beat Janela in pretty convincing fashion last week, and easily, I think. I heard this taken a couple places now, so I don't have to say it in one person. Jake Hager, pretty much the best thing that he's done in the company. Maybe excepting the Stadium Stampede, because I guess his parts in that were pretty good. So yeah, that was enjoyable to me. I didn't get, Jericho gets on the mic afterwards and says, we're going to go for a tag team title run now. And I didn't really get a satisfactory, I think, explanation on that. Like, maybe I kind of want him to sell it. Oh, Moxley beat me last time. I don't think I can beat Moxley, so I'm going to go after the tag titles instead. That would have been nice as like a justification for why Jericho doesn't still want to be the top guy. But I think it's interesting. You're moving Omega and Page out of the tag team division and replacing them with another top team or a top star, at least, in Jericho. So that's great to, continue to give that division some juice and make it interesting.
And it's something with how with like Sonny Kiss, he's been getting a lot more ring time, and he had this really fun closing stretch in this match, like right before the finish that came off really well. So this worked on like multiple levels. One of the things that felt like that, at least I know I was wondering, and I was trying to figure out while we were doing the post show on Saturday, was where do you go with Chris Jericho now? And now the very clear and obvious question is, have him be in a tag team. He's not going to have to drop falls here, and we get to see, and he'll still be a featured player. So I feel like that was a success in that sense. And, the more I see the Janela and Kiss team, the more I feel like that Sonny Kiss is someone that they need to get behind in a big way. And it's a great use of Joey Janela. So I feel like that this was just kind of an unqualified success.
Yeah, I was just happy to see Joey and Sonny get this big shine. I don't know that I hear what you're saying, Nate. I'm not sure I need like a really great explanation for why they want to go after the tag titles. But I do appreciate the idea that AEW is smartly going to do that with like singles guys, where there's really not something for Jericho to do in this moment on the singles level. So I like the idea of shunting them over there. They don't need to win the tag titles, and I'd be surprised if they did. But you get to, it's not quite 90s All Japan, but you can kind of put some of your top stars in tags and let them. I mean, it's what they've done with Page and Omega, right? They didn't have anything for Omega to do in the singles world, so they put them over there in the tag, and it was a huge success. It was a big storyline success for them, and they got a lot of great matches out of it. So I'm excited that they're showing a willingness to do that.
Yeah. Nice to make their intentions known. I just, Jericho's been such a top guy throughout so many companies that it's like, well, why wouldn't you want to be the world champ still?
That's fair.
I guess maybe you don't want him to sell that he doesn't want to go after Moxley because you don't want to position the tag belts as lesser, but also the tag belts haven't main evented any pay-per-views here. So
this may be headcanon, but I took it as, hey, we had a rough go of it at the pay-per-view, and now we're going to get back on track by, going in the tag division for a little bit. That's the way I took it, but again, I may have just made that up for myself. All right, Mike, your choice. What did you think was the most elite part of Dynamite this week?
Well, it clearly was to be Miro, but we all agreed on that at the forefront. So after that, I'm real interested, like, how they're going to deal with Paige and Omega. I thought that they had a pretty kind of effective thing coming here. This was a show that had a lot of talking, a lot like the Go Home show. But I feel like that these two having two like vastly different like sit down interviews. Paige was with Tony Schiavone and Kenny Omega was with JR. And I feel like that kind of showing like the two sides and the two different individuals who came together in this team made it really interesting. And the whole idea that Kenny is like, you know what? I did this. I learned something, but you know what? I think it's time for me to get back to myself. Whereas Paige is like, we still might have another shot. I know I'm full of poison, but I feel like we have something here after everything is interesting. And it does make me feel like that eventually we might be seeing Paige versus Omega as a program here, but it's an interesting step after the pay-per-view where everything was kind of left up in the air. And I guess you can even tie in like the Young Bucks, just like not dealing with things and super kicking Alec Marvez and then getting fined for that. So like everyone who's been involved in like this elite storyline, I feel like that they took really important steps forward. And especially given, I mean, there's like 7 weeks until the pay-per-view. And I feel like that this was a good start on the road to Full Gear, at least for Paige and Omega.
Yeah, I like both of these. I thought, Hangman is a little bit on the, I don't know, sad sack or melodramatic side than, maybe how I would ideally play it. But, he's also, I think, knows his audience and knows what BTE people want and has, developed that character to a point where everybody has bought into it multiple times over now. So maybe I just, maybe he knows better than me on that. But yeah, and they did some great justification. I thought Omega's line about, if Hangman is looking for a reconciliation and all this stuff, that he needs to make better plan or make other plans, was, I thought, a incisive line. And, really, then he just hit the nail on the head where he's like, hey, I'm going to do the singles thing that everybody wanted me to do in the first place now. Go ahead and let your intentions be known on that. And now you've got a big audience for this show. People are going to be hopefully tuning in to see that. I would have liked him to be like, oh yeah, by the way, I am a top singles champion for a, global promotion in AAA right now. So maybe that's worth a mention at that point. But yeah, I think a nice clean break for both those guys. It is kind of funny that on the pay-per-view, it was the Young Bucks who wanted to talk to Omega and Paige, be like, hey, let's talk things out. And then, here on the next television episode, both those guys are doing all the talking and the Young Bucks are like, no, I'm tired of talking. Fed up with all this. We're going to kick a guy in the face. Just kind of a funny two ships passing in the night where everybody's constantly in opposing positions.
I think this is easily the most compelling this story has been in a very long time. It would kind of gotten to the point where I was just like, okay, can we do something with this story? Can we make some progress? And I wasn't sure where Kenny was going because he starts out talking about, everybody thought I was going to be the big single star at the start of this company. And maybe that just wasn't meant to be. And I thought, oh, he's just going to like dive into this tag thing, I guess. But then he like switches, in the middle of the promo. But I'm not sure how clean the break is going to be. It feels like Paige, his character realizes like, oh, I fucked up bad and I've got to do something to make up for it. And his idea is, well, I'm going to keep tagging with Kenny and that will show everybody, that I'm actually a good guy and I'm going to not really, but kind of like pay my dues, to get back to even with my friends. And so I imagine we're going to see him still trying to make that happen for some time and Kenny not being open to it. And yeah, like as Mike said, you see the Bucks, what they did, and then Omega, what he did. You wonder, are they shading a little more? to the heel side, and we could get that Page Omega match where it's cleaner Omega versus babyface Adam Page.
Well, yes, they're shading all sides of this schism here, but I think, I don't want to get too into the weeds on this because we do it constantly, but I think Kenny's supposed to be the heel coming out of that, because he's the one that's like, no, we're not getting back together. I don't want to be friends with you anymore or whatever. He's the guy that let Paige fall on his face. He's the guy that's been teasing the cleaner character. So, I think he would be on the heel side of that. And whereas Paige is trying to play more of a sympathetic, down on his luck babyface sort of aspect to it. But, it made me think that this is like well-trod ground for Kenny, and it worked for him a lot previously. Like, hey, I'll get really established as a tag team guy, and then we'll split up and I'll do my singles thing. And now there's even more money whenever they go back to the Elite coming back together, which, of course they will do. But it's a matter of, you have to make people wait for it and make people want it. So in however many years you can, have him and Page mend the fences or whatever. When he did that with Ibushi, that's what, elevated into the top of New Japan, was that whole storyline. So, I think he knows how that worked for him previously. And I think if they execute that again, then it'll be to everybody's benefit.
Is Hangman Page willing to sell that he is in love with Kenny Omega? Because I really think that would be a big storyline for AEW.
I think it's a little complicated by his partner, his significant other, having been, alluded to on BTE and stuff. Right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying makes
it a little tougher to blur the lines.
That's a huge part of the magic of the Omega Ibushi thing.
Yeah.
There's this undercurrent of romance, right? And
yes,
as our good friend Adam said, romance is one of the great tropes in life and in wrestling.
That's one of the better lines we've had on any of our pods here.
Absolutely.
It is, in all the tropes of life, romance is one of the bigger ones.
It is. So yeah, I'm finally, once again, fascinated by this story, like excited to see where it's going to go. And I think an Omega Page match is a lot of fun and still lets Omega build up toward being a title challenger again. He would have to win that feud, which is complicated, but he would need to win that to then go up to face Mox or whoever's going to be the champion at that point. But it's a much better way than Page got built up for his title shot.
Yeah, and if they make Kenny more of a true heel, that makes Kenny versus Moxley a second time more interesting. It's not just a rematch; it's going back to it with a fresh feel, and then maybe he finally gets his world championship at that point.
All right, my pick for this week is, it's really the whole Ricky Starks Darby Allin feud. Generally, this has been going on for some time, but it's like it's always fresh. They even went back to something they'd already done before this week, and it still was interesting. And this is a feud that I'm still excited to see. Like, they talked a lot about how Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho lasted 14 weeks. Like, that was a big deal because nowadays in wrestling, feuds don't last that long.
That's such an insight. Jericho cannot stay away from inside conversations about the business of wrestling. So that's such a him thing, like 14 weeks. I made a feud work for 14 weeks. Fucking eat on that. It's very funny that it's now, of course, infiltrated the actual text of the show.
Yeah. But it's like, this feud is one that's lasting a long time, but like in an organic way, not in a way that you ever get tired of what they're doing. We haven't actually seen them face off very much. They kind of both done their own things. So I think that's good. And also you had Ricky Starks doing what I think was his best promo so far in AEW, because I think you see him gain a little more confidence every time he comes out, get a little more comfortable with being on national television. And, when everybody was putting over the early promos, I thought there was promise there, but he seemed to be a little shaky, a little like, fuck, man, this is a big spot for me. And now I think he's settling into, no, I'm just here and I'm doing this. And maybe it's good they didn't do this match at All Out, and it's going to be even bigger. I'm just worried that they're just going to blow it off on a Dynamite rather than holding it off to Full Gear.
Yeah, it's something that I'm relieved that some of the storylines that I was afraid they were kind of just cutting off before the pay-per-view in terms of just putting everyone in the Battle Royal. I am glad that they are continuing this, and I feel like that between this and I thought that Ricky was solid in the Battle Royal, and then also on Dark, I think like Ricky Starks really has shown over the last 7 days, or really the last 5 days, who he is in this promotion and why he's a building block for the future. And I mean, they're really having Ricky shoulder the load in this feud, and he's doing it in a great fashion. And I think he's shown that he's rising to the occasion.
Yeah, I thought what was great about this, and which was, I think, probably a strength of the show overall, especially when you have a post pay-per-view show with a big audience where you want to hook a lot of people for stuff going forward. But this segment in particular it was quick. He hit his points, and then it was to the back. He was over, which is what they should be doing with promos and with interviews and stuff more frequently. Right before the Casino Battle Royale, they ran a bunch of 30-second promos, 15-second promos for every guy, and they were all different, and they all had a little bit of character about the competitors in the match, and that's great, and that's what you got here. He came out, he did his joke, he made his point, he hammered it, and then it was like, okay, on to the next thing, and it's like, great. You have so many talented people who so many of them can come up with shit to do to make you interested on a week-to-week basis. If you can hit us with those things to keep people fresh from week to week, then we're going to keep watching.
And if you want to keep your wallet fresh, folks, it's time to head over to MyBookie. New customers receive a 100% deposit match. You can double your deposit up to $1,000. If you're a new customer, you put in $100, you'll get an extra 100 to play with. You put in $1,000, you'll get an extra 1,000 to play with. Anything in between. It's summertime, and at MyBookie, that can only mean one thing. It's winning season. So get your first deposit double to do some free bets. You can play Super Contest, Survivor. They got the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, UFC, more. And we're bringing back, folks, the Cousin Weed Mouse Lock of the Week. Week. We got it fresh for you right here. Get your little pencils out to write down what you're going to take over to MyBookie to make your bet this week. Pittsburgh Steelers against the New York Giants on Monday, September 14th. The Cousin Weed Mouse Lock of the Week. Steelers -6. That's Steelers -6. I'm just making sure you've made your notes. So get your bets in. The Cousin Weed Mouse had a great run the last time we were doing the MyBookie ads. So it's time to bring him back. But Mike, I know you've been throwing down some bets at MyBookie. What kind of action do we got?
So one of my favorite ones that I've gotten was is who's going to win the WWE Championship, and they had Roman Reigns. Let me see what they had it at. It was some insane thing that I immediately ran in like a big dog. But the big dog, baby. The big dog took care of me there. Something that I really liked that we talked about last week was Brock Lesnar's next contract, WWE at plus 125. I put a little bit on there just because nothing else makes sense there. That seems like that's pretty easy money. Because I am representing the U, I put some money on the Eric King winning the Heisman. He was plus 1,200 when I put that down there. He's someone that is kind of a sleeper candidate, and I think that he's going to be someone that will at least become a finalist. And I don't know how they're going to be doing the Heisman Award this year, but he'll definitely be high up in the voting. And then as well, we have the F1 coming up this weekend, AB, and you know how much F1 heads AB and I are. I have a little feeling Max Verstappen plus 500 to win.
What could we have gotten Pierre Gasly at last weekend, I wonder?
They have him at, when I was looking at it, it was very high odds they have him at this week. He is not favored whatsoever for this upcoming race. So
sure.
It's one of those things that Pierre Gasly winning, the first French driver to win an F1 race in 25 years, he is plus 10,000 right now. So if you want to let it ride on Pierre Gasly, it's plus 10,000. Of course, Lewis Hamilton is the favorite at minus 230. Valtteri Bottas is the only other person under plus 1,000 for this upcoming Tuscan Grand Prix, the
Yeah,
1,000th Grand Prix for Ferrari.
Yeah, and it's a track that they haven't been on. So, I mean, we don't know a lot about what it's going to look like. So
it's a track they own.
Yeah, so that might be one that we could get an interesting winner. But make sure you go over to MyBookie. Here's how you get your deposit doubled. You got to use the promo code ELITE. So remember, if you're a new player, you can get up to $1,000 on a double on your deposit if you use the promo code ELITE. So sign up now, bet with the best, celebrate your victory. Your winning season begins today, only at MyBookie. Now we got to talk about the bad stuff from the show. And it really was an interesting show in that there was a ton of promos, not a ton of wrestling. It was a very different show than what they usually put on. And I came away with some weirdness about the show. Like a lot of it I enjoyed, but it was just like a weird way of putting the show together, I thought. So I'm interested to see what you guys didn't like from the show. So Nate, what was your delete pick?
It's hard. I'm going to frame this as a delete. Other people might think it's an advantage or strength of the show. They did a good rating on a show despite. I changed my mind. I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete. What I was going to delete was, none of your homegrown guys were pushed here on your big show. There was a lot of focus on, this is the old. The reason I'm not saying this is because it's like a hack, but it's all Miros and Dustins and Brodies, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Matt Hardy's. I will delete teasing the big Cody Rhodes announcement throughout the last hour of the show. And then it having nothing to do with the wrestling content of your show. And it actually like totally undercutting one of your big angles about Cody being having the shit kicked out of him, but I understand they're being a good corporate partner to TNT. Congrats on your corporate partnership. But it's just, it doesn't, when you tease it that hard, again, it's about expectations. And I know they want people to stay tuned and see what it is. That's the idea, is you need to draw people's eyeballs to it. So then people will watch the show. But when you have the commentary team teasing Cody has a big announcement, and then it's like, oh, here's Cody's big announcement from another universe entirely. He's actually fine, and you can watch this game show. It's just very, very jarring, undercuts your own angle. If you did it like in the last 30 seconds, like, hey, thanks for watching Dynamite with us, guys. Check this out, something coming soon with Cody. And then you run it, then it's like the expectations aren't there that it's going to be so important, and then people aren't so taken aback by it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like expectations here, and the way they built it up, because they had the screen crawl of like Cody with a special announcement after the match, Cody with the special announcement, and they cut to Cody, and Cody is on a set. So being in the Discord last night, everyone went like, oh fuck, are they doing a WW? Are they doing their own version of the WWE Thunderdome? Because they mentioned Macon, Georgia, which of course is close to both Turner and the operative headquarters of AEW. And then it turns into a competition show with Bert Kreischer, the shirtless comedian, hosting, with Cody, Snoop Dogg, Jennifer Nettles, and Rosario Dawson. And you're just like going, what? And I have to say, like, I immediately like caught what this was. And my first response was like, oh, I guess everyone who was going like, oh, they must be worried about the program head that left being like their condition of the network. As soon as I saw this, it's like, oh, of course not. They love Cody. But what was truly great about this was the response of one Aaron Bentley, who's, I still don't think it's all sunk in, because you went silent for a good solid 10 minutes. And I was like, I guess I'm filling time here, making sure everything's okay, because I couldn't tell if like you were like mic off, like cursing this out, or you were just like, what the fuck did I just see? But yeah, no, it was like managing expectations. And then in a way, like having your fans like expect something about someone who's been off TV now for 2 weeks. And this is how the first mention to see him is, hey, I'm doing a game show. And it's just kind of wild in that respect.
Yeah, it fucked me up very, very badly. I didn't know what to say. I just like, yeah, it's all about the expectations. I thought like, oh, we're going to get some kind of cool announcement from Cody here. And when it was like, when there's like fucking a drive-in game show, and it's like, I don't know. I still really can't process like what the thought. I mean, I understand the thought process from a corporate partnership level, but I don't understand the thought process from like a wrestling television show level of what was going on. I don't know. A friend who is a public school teacher texted me today to say that they were told that in the event of a lockdown for a school shooter, you have to ignore COVID social distancing rules and risk COVID in that circumstance. And I was the same way I was unable to process that in my brain was how I felt about this sudden drive-in game show. All I can remember is like, and this could be my brain just like creating this memory, but I feel like there was like two African-American guys outside of a truck, and they were like Arsenio, like hooting and hollering like for Cody. And that's like the vision that like sticks in my brain that I will never forget of.
I didn't see it. They didn't even show it on Fight, so I have no idea.
Oh yeah.
No idea what happened, except that obviously he's fine. He's not at all injured.
No, I mean, they tried to like vaguely reference it. He was like, I say go big, or people say go big or go home. And since I'm injured, maybe I should go home. But I like to go big. I
at least, I guess, I respect that they acknowledged it at all. It was a strong show for acknowledging things. I'll give him that. That's another elite pick was Eddie Kingston acknowledging shit. I love an acknowledgement. But yeah, just very, very, again, it's only a positive. Like, it's great that Turner's investing time into him. It's great that Turner thinks he's going to bring eyeballs to their show. These are all things that are to the advantage of AEW. It just gives you that dissonance when they push it like that.
I'm going to read this one paragraph about this that's from the Observer website. Go Big Show will feature celebrity judges Snoop Dogg, Rosario Dawson, Jennifer Nettles, and Cody judging the likes of monster trucks, alligator trainers, stunt archery, and other feats. It will also highlight the behind-the-scenes stories from the challengers whose aim is to impress the judges and head-to-head competition. Now, just seeing that we're getting monster trucks, alligator trainers, and stunt archery in one thing, I'm going to watch this thing. I think that this is into the Codyverse. This will become a Patreon.
I never had
content.
a doubt that Mike would watch this. Not for 1 second.
I love garbage TV. Just shovel it in my mouth. I've been watching a lot of panel shows lately. It's gotten to that point of this. I've been watching old British, the Great Big Fat Quiz of Everything, 2014. It's gone to that point.
Is that on Wrestling Quiz Night?
I do not think that that's on Wrestling Quiz Night. However, member of the AEW Championship Committee, Jack Whitehall, does appear on the show.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Love Jack.
So yeah, I'm absolutely going to be watching this and reviewing this because this is exactly for me.
Aaron, on the topic of viewing habits, have you given the extremely popular anime ReZero a try, as you suggested you might?
I've watched 2 episodes, friends and listeners.
How long has it been since you watched those 2? Have you? Is this that you gave it up already, or are you sticking with it?
Oh no, I just haven't had a lot of time. I've been very busy. But no, I plan to watch at least the first season. I don't really give up on shows. Usually I'll give them a good shot. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
All right, keep us apprised.
It's interesting because I don't watch any anime. So like, even though I understand that this is like a common anime trope, it's a new idea to me. Like the idea that this guy is transported to a new universe, and then it's like a Groundhog Day gimmick where like this thing happens and he's got to go back and try to recreate things to like make it happen differently. So it's new to me.
Miro entering AEW is an isekai.
That's right. That's absolutely right. It would be funny to see him try to come back next week in the same outfit and try to cut a better promo. That'd be funny.
I like that. Miro is trapped. That is. I wonder if Shikara ever did that. But yeah, this Miro trapped in a time loop, and everybody else like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, there is the whole idea about Eddie Kingston doing a spinning back fist to Robert Evans and sending him back through time, and there was a time loop in Shikara at one point. Yes.
Well, we've got all the tools right here for another one. Eddie's Kingston, out here baby. Throwing back fists.
Yeah, I mean, it's the back fist to the future. So if you get hit by it, you go into the future. So there you go.
All right. Well, Mike, what was your delete pick from this week's episode?
There was a lot of talking, but there was one bit of talking that I thought was worse than everything else, and that was the FTR celebration. That was very, very just awkwardly staged. The FTR guys, you have Tully Blanchard there the entire time. We've seen how hit and miss these two guys are on commentary. And I was a fan of parts of when they did like the stuff last week, building up them versus Hangman and Omega. Like, I thought that's something that was okay. But then like you have like Dax talking about like they're the locker room leaders. We're the top guys. Speaking of top guys, Billy, just because you're in some second tier Hall of Fame doesn't mean and your kid are going to jump in line. It just was like kind of just like one of those things that I was like, you have Tully Blanchard here. You have Tully Blanchard here. And he's just staying in the background clapping. And then you have Cake. And then you have your Cooler. And you had like all the tag teams out there other than the Bucks and Hangman Omega. So a lot of people looked like absolute geeks. At least Silver and Reynolds like stood up on the stage watching and then went into the back partway through. So it just was like this was like the one thing that, hey, Celebrations apparently bring in ratings. So I'm not going to completely dismiss that. But you have Tully Blanchard there. Why do we have to have both bald FTR and FTR with hair cut bad promos?
Not a highlight of the show, not a strength of the show. Tully did promo. I don't think his promo brought a lot to the table either. He was kind of just loud. So I don't know if that really solves your problem. I kind of think, they were doing material that was like very WWE, Brian Gewirtz one-liners, which is, maybe what they're best equipped to do based on where they come from. And, I thought the SCU line was pretty fine. I like that they put down the WWE Hall of Fame. That'll always get a pop from me. But yeah, I just think they don't have the confidence to pull this off and make it really sing as a segment yet. Like they just, when you're not super confident, you don't hit all of your words with, the exact right pace, and they kind of rush through it, or you talk over each other. And that's just kind of the vibe I got from it. So yeah, they kind of just need some of that Brody Lee glow up where they really get some confidence, I think. And then I think all these, some of these little foibles will fall together when they feel more self-assured about how they're performing.
I mean, they probably were like told for 5 years or whatever that they are shit at talking. And so we're not going to let you talk. So yeah, you got to beat back some of that, but they also are shit at talking. So it's like, it's a tough,
you're not helping, Aaron. You're playing right into there.
So it's a tough line to walk. I just hate their whole shit. It's just like, this is not something that I enjoy. So I agree. It was bad. My delete pick of the week, another Dustin Rhodes main event, like a few months after his most recent main event with a monster who, punished him for an extended match. I mean, it's like, to me, Dustin comes and has the Cody match. And you're like, oh shit, this guy like still got it. Like, okay, let's have a little Dustin run. This will be fun. And then to me, that ends when Lance Archer destroyed him. It's like, okay, the Dustin thing's done. He'll do this tag team with QT. That's cool. He can be in your 6-mans and your 8-mans and whatever. And he's kind of he's still pretty good, but he's not a big player in the promotion. And then like 3 months later to put him right back out there in a TV main event, it's just like, it's not that it was a bad match. It's just not compelling at all. It's something that if in a year you pulled out a Dustin TV main event, they're like, oh, well, this is fresh again. This is interesting again. But I just wasn't into it here, and it made me just not interested in watching the match very much.
Yeah, I thought it was probably the second or third best match on the show.
How many matches were there?
More
5.
than that. I mean,
5.
It was there with the Jericho match that I shouted out, and the Luchasaurus opening match was also pretty strong, I thought. And I thought this was a pretty strong television main event. But yeah, that was sort of that's related to the point that I shied away from, which is, a lot of what brought me to AEW was I had got invested in these other guys who went and made stars of themselves outside the WWE for exactly that reason, because the WWE is dog shit, and it was like, oh, New Japan's really good. Let's watch that. Oh, here comes the Young Bucks, and now later here comes Kenny Omega, and they're made themselves stars overseas in the second biggest promotion in the world, that's like remarkable. I'm going to follow what's going on with these guys. So, they must have concluded that the ex-WWE guys perform well, because we keep getting these Matt Hardy singles matches. We keep getting big pushed, Brody Lee and Dustin Rhodes matches. And those just, I would, at some point we have to start transitioning into, hey, here's the big pushed, Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks match on top, instead of Dustin Rhodes and Brody Lee match on top. And again, that's just like a larger macro thing, because I like the match. I like what both these guys are doing. So I, enjoyed it at the time. Just that's like a larger concern to be aware of.
And then, like talking about like how AB said about him having like this up top story so recently, this is like the third time in the past 15 months where he's had like this big last stand thing. And then you add that with the tag team title shot. And that seems to be a well that they're tapping dry relatively quickly. And it's one of those things that like, I feel like that he's a great resource and he's definitely can still go in the ring, but it's something that maybe this is on the show that the Bucks were only in one segment. Kenny had to sit down. Cody's off screen. So you have a Moxley promo. That's how you're using Moxley. Like they pretty much like booked this so that they had to rely on this. And yeah, I would have loved to see the Darby and Ricky Starks match. Maybe it is that's coming down the line. Maybe it does get like the big main event spot it deserves. But I guess for like right now, they kind of booked themselves into it. But I think that like, I don't want to see Dustin Rhodes doing a last stand match at all over the next like year. Like it should be like until 2021 or 2022 before we have another one of these.
I'm pretty concerned. I mean, I talked about it before. I'm pretty concerned about this like booking by spreadsheet regime that they seem to have, which is like, we're pretty sure that this type of guy moves numbers, so we're going to put them here rather than trying to make the viewers respond to something. I'm concerned about how that, if they don't move to what you were talking about, Nate, of trying to make their own people in these spots, then they're not going to have them. When these guys are gone, there's not going to be a next generation to turn to. So that's pretty concerning to me.
It is. And it's funny that it's, basically the same argument that plays out with, sabermetrics and, sports, which is where Tony comes from, that it's like, well, if you're just looking at the numbers all the time and you're obsessed with the data, then you're not, you're missing other parts of the picture. But I think they probably, being that Tony is an old newsletter guy and ECW guy or whatever, I think he probably, he hears a Darby Allin pop and he goes, okay, if the hardcores are with Darby Allin, then he's a guy that we can invest some time in to make sure that the larger TV audience is seeing what the appeal about him is. So yeah, you just have to hope that there's a balance.
All right. We also had a big ratings win for AEW. I mean, they were against no one, but big win nonetheless. They
were against very close NBA games. So
that's true. And they did very well. So AB takes the L on this one, as they did pop over 1 million viewers, 1.016 million. That's up from 928,000. They're living in rarefied air now. And seventh in the demo with a 0.37. So just beautiful stuff for if you're AEW, you got to be very happy.
Yeah. At this time, I'm collecting my win on the Double or Nothing bet. And that saying that I was
here's one W, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. And here's your L and here's your L for this bet.
I'll put an F in the chat.
Yeah, we'd pay respects to that. And that I was the only one that thought that AEW would break 1 million by Double or Nothing 2021. And, just like looking at how this was and how this kind of played out, kind of interesting. Like the big takeaway, though, that with like this was an incredibly high demo number. This was the most viewers overall they've had since the second week of TV, and only the first time that they've broken 1 million since the third week of TV. And it's their best demo performance since I think the Jericho Cruise. I think that is, no, not the Jericho Cruise. It is the, trying to think what the show is on 115. I think it was one of the Florida shows, maybe. But
Bash of the Beach shows, perhaps.
Bash of the Beach at the U. So, I mean, like, there we go, there again. But the interesting things about this was that the biggest way that this happened was the people above the age of 50, which was 0.40, which is the highest they scored in that sub demo, and it was 0.35. It's been going up. 2 weeks ago when they had that Saturday night show, it was a 0.25 and it's almost double that. And those are NXT fans, I'm willing to guess, just because of how NXT has skewed and how heavily they've had the over 50 demo. I think that's a reasonable assumption to do there. Interestingly enough, like both NXT was on Tuesday again, both AEW and NXT had these NBA double headers, and it was a more difficult NBA night last night than it was on Tuesday with like the overtime game and it being really, really, really tight with it. But I mean, AEW was the best non-news, non-NBA program on TV, and it was not a strong broadcast night as well. Interesting things that like kind of came across that like I had a little bit of like a demo breakdown. They were up both in women 14 or 18 to 49, women 12 to 34, and then people over 50. Slightly down in people overall 18 to 34, and down more in men 12 to 34, which I thought was kind of interesting to see like that little bit of it. I mean, that could also very well be NBA game. So a real interesting night. It's going to be something as we don't know what night they're going to be on, but given how like their trajectory has been, and I mean, we're looking at like 4 shows ago, they were at 755,000. I think that they have to come out of this all pretty happy. And, you know, it's one of those things that coming out of like the big pay-per-view that they have to be pretty happy about it. And they have to feel pretty confident about everything right now. And it'll be interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah. And also just, you know, they had I thought, pretty rough week last week in a big audience. And I was like, hey, you know, when you have a big audience, you should do a good show instead of a bad show. So I'm glad they listened to our advice. I'm glad they did a good show this week for this big audience. And, you know, also shows that, you know, a lot of these people that are dipping in, maybe, you know, when NXT is not exactly running opposite to them or whatever, you know, are willing to give them a chance here, stick with them week to week, even if they have a down week. You know, of course, it also benefits them that these shows have been before and after pay-per-view. But yeah, and again, mentioned this earlier, they did a bunch of angles and talking segments and stuff to set up future stories that hopefully hooks those, you know, new viewers in.
They were also competitive with Raw in the 18 to 49, I believe. They beat 1 hour and were right in the middle of the other 2 hours or something like that. So it's going to be interesting. If NXT moves to Tuesday, as it looks like they will, and AEW stays on Wednesday, it's going to be interesting to see AEW versus Raw going forward.
I'm becoming more skeptical that they move NXT just because this story is already, AEW is nipping at Raw's heels, and that's the story that USA and WWE do not want whatsoever. So
that's a good point. That like USA doesn't care about NXT versus AEW, but if it becomes AEW versus Raw, that raises their interest.
Actually, yeah, now that I say that, I wonder if they don't mind, because then when contract renewal time comes, then they say, we're not fucking paying you that much money again, because look at the bargain you can get at AEW.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe the gross points are more important for USA at this point, because they don't have much else.
What if USA bought AEW to replace Raw?
That'd be very
wild.
funny.
That would be very funny.
All-time great day of Twitter.
No, that's a day of Twitter where I install it from the phone. I go make a bath and I just go sit in the bath, listen to some music, and just not think about anything for a while, because that is definitely like a day I do not want to be at the like where I'm.
You would be missing out, man.
I'll be there. I'll be injecting those takes if that happens.
I mean, that'll be like the flats of Megiddo right there.
I will have those takes in my footy packs, just ready to imbibe.
I'll be out at my porch. You know, I will. Maybe that's when the day I decide to learn the banjo. Like that seems like that'll be my plan during that day. But yeah, no, it's interesting. It's one of those things that, given like this week, if I'm AEW, seeing how things are going with Turner, you're like, all right, already thinking about 2022, 2023. Whereas WWE, you got a lot of things, and especially with the other news about the people who are furloughed now being permanently laid off.
All right, let's get into our rundown of the rest of the show from this week. We started out with Jericho and MJF with Tony Schiavone. They're kind of doing a face-off promo gimmick. Jericho says, "You got robbed by Box. Everybody saw it, but I guarantee you're going to be AEW champion very soon." MJF says, "Let me throw that right back to you. The fact that you lost to Orange Cassidy twice is criminal," which is funny that they made sure to include that Orange Cassidy beat him twice, even in this segment. Says, but I promise you that one day you're going to regain your AEW World Championship. They say they believe in each other. And then as they walk away, we see each of them calling the other a loser. Next up was the Jurassic Express versus the Lucha Brothers. Jurassic Express won. Jungle Boy rolled up Phoenix after Penta hit Phoenix. I think it was actually a Yoshitonic. I get the Yoshitonic and the Canadian Destroyer confused, so I'm not really sure which is which.
I think it was a Destroyer. The Destroyer bump is a pile driver bump to the head. A Yoshitonic bump is to the back.
Oh, well, maybe I can figure that out. I mean, unlikely.
Just to a pinning position.
I've been watching wrestling a long time and still haven't figured it out, so doubtful that I will. And then they had this thing afterward where Phoenix was mad. He and Penta are pushing each other. Kingston comes out, tries to make peace, gets in a shot at the Blade for letting the bunny run wild. And ultimately, they all make up. And then Eddie Kingston notes that he was never eliminated from the Battle Royal. Do you have any recollection? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I tweeted about that.
Okay, sorry I missed it.
I did a quote tweet of one of our followers who observed the same thing. When Eddie exited the ring in the Battle Royal, he went under the rope and then was on the apron, and that's where the finish ended up happening with Lance Archer and then Jake the Snake were all out there. The question is, at one point he climbed back up the turnbuckle from the outside of the ring and was seated on the turnbuckle. So if you're on top of the turnbuckle, does that count as entering the ring? It was well done, I guess, in that it was borderline that you could probably take it either way. But yeah, the other great thing he acknowledged here, I've been yelling about for weeks, months even, is, hey, Blade, where's your wife, man? What happened to the bunny? Just like any acknowledgement that was dropped altogether is like, oh, they are aware of that being a jarring, dissonant thing.
After this, there was a Jake Roberts, Lance Archer promo where literally nothing of note happened. So just going to skip right past that.
They were wet. They were damp. That was the only thing.
Somebody's going to piss themselves, as I understand. Then we had the much anticipated and ballyhooed Matt Hardy in ring promo. He says at All Out, he suffered a very scary fall. He knows a lot of people were frightened. He was overwhelmed with the outpouring of love. And after a myriad of tests, he's expected to make a 100% full recovery. He goes on about how lucky he is, talks about his wife and his kid. Did he say his kid's name is Barney?
I don't think so.
I think Bartleby, maybe. I know one's Maxwell and that one's Oh no, it's not. It is a B name though, and it is
all I could think of was that episode of
Wolfie.
Okay, it didn't sound like that at all. I thought it was a B for sure. But all I could think of was that episode of Eastbound and Down where Kenny Powers says, "What's this one's name? Shrek?"
Just a weird, I know that they felt like they needed to do this segment, but then you also had Rebby and the aisle, and they had the camera like pointing to her, and it's very definitely a good thing that Rebby had a mask on and was observing all those things, because given how she was on Twitter, she is the person with even less chill than UAB. She would have like stormed the ring.
he apologized.
No, less than zero chill, Rebby.
Yeah.
If you want to hear us talk about the quote unquote concussion protocol, check out the All Out Reaction show, because I got mad and buried the company on there at length for doing this horse shit with Matt Hardy after the fact. But yeah, they probably made the right choice in just coming out here and having him do an honest 2-camera promo, no angle. It's just like, hey, you guys were concerned about me, so you're going to hear it straight from me, and then I'm going to go leave and I'm going to go get better. That's probably the right thing to do there. And yeah, funny that Rebby came down from the Hardy compound, made the long drive to make sure the fucking office was in line, because not a thing's going to get past her.
And he did say that when he gets healthy and cleared, he's going to come back and wrestle in AEW. So I guess we can just take him at his word as far as that goes. Next up, Orange Cassidy defeated Angelico with a Superman punch. After the match, Santana and Ortiz attacked Orange from behind. The best friends made the save. Chuck said, "You want to attack us from behind? You want to destroy my best friend's mom's van? How about next Dynamite? You meet us in the parking lot." Trent says, "We're not going to hug each other or have fun. We're going to come to hurt you and to make my mama proud," which led to a big loud Sue chant in the building.
Great
Sue's
line.
over.
Yep. This is,
damn
right.
Sue's over.
They needed. I'll buy that shirt. Fuck. I'll buy the shit out of that shirt. Damn right. Sue's over. Yeah, this is, Sue is the way to get some vulnerability and humanity onto these guys who are otherwise too irony poisoned or whatever. And Trent wants to make his mom proud. That's great. Great go home promo for, building up to this parking lot brawl, which was the match they were going to do on the Blood and Guts show prior to the pandemic. So it looks like we've taken the long route, but that was finally the intent to blow this off, is my guess.
I wanted to be mad about this, like, just random Orange Cassidy match. Like, I thought, like, okay, now he's just like having normal matches and trying in the matches. But I will say that Excalibur did a good job in the match on commentary of saying Chris Jericho has ignited something within Orange Cassidy. So they're at least explaining why he's kind of a new person. I just wonder if that's going to take away from, like, the vibe, the thing about Orange Cassidy that connects with the fans.
It's really hard, right? Like, that was the big thing about elevating Orange Cassidy, is the degree of difficulty is crazy, but they spent all this time and had him go over Chris Jericho twice to try and elevate him to the next level. And then it's like, well, you do all that to try and make him a featured player in the promotion. And then do you have him come out and do the little shin kicks shtick that we've seen, for X number of weeks, whatever it was, 14 weeks on the program. He keeps doing that, and he keeps going back to the well on his shtick. Like, if you've been watching him on the indies and beyond for however many years, then you've seen it 100 times. It's still, the degree of difficulty is still really, really high, but you have to evolve it in some way, or else it just becomes, an old hat gimmick.
And it's against someone like Angelico that I came in dreading this match, and instead they kept it to like a tight 5. Like, it was exactly, if Orange Cassidy is going to be serious and this is going to be who he is now, and they're trying to thread the needle with it, like, it was kept into a length that I feel like it was pretty effective.
I'm imagining, like, 15 years from now, Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy doing a podcast called 14 Weeks. That's on Conrad's podcast network.
Conrad owns Spotify.com.
I mean, he might at this rate. I'm surprised he's not making deals with Spotify already.
Now I'm imagining a Conrad X Bill Simmons podcast. Terrified.
Who are your guys? Who are your guys?
Conrad X Anti-Social Social Club.
Conrad X Neighborhood Tokyo X Garfield X Babe.
Alex Barbez.
This is DM us, Conrad.
Yeah. He's outside the Young Bucks locker room. They open the door and super kick him, and they later get fined $5,000 for doing so. This was next with the segment where Kip Sabian came out to announce the best man, and it was Miro, which we talked about. We did not mention that he pointed out that that the people are going to see he's the best gamer on Twitch. So
just can't believe we forgot that fucking line. It was the best line. He's the best gamer.
God, Miro rules so much.
Yeah. All right. Tony was with Hangman Page, which we talked about. I heard kind of what he said about what he's going to do going forward. Then the Chris Jericho and Jake Hager match, defeating Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. And Jericho announcing afterward they were going to go into the tag title scene. MJF was backstage in his campaign office. He said, "Of course, Mox cheated. You can't blame a scorpion for stinging you, but I figured out who's to blame. It's this campaign. It was supposed to create change and make me a champion, but you're all fired." He gets mad at everybody. Wardlow comes up behind him and interrupts him, and he asks Wardlow if he has a problem. Wardlow kind of gets in his face. He says that MJF pays Wardlow, not Tony Khan, because MJF is the only one in the world who sees Wardlow's potential. So unless Wardlow gets it together, he's going to be fired. Wardlow says they do not have a problem. And MJF says now is the time for planning to get right back where they belong.
Yeah, this was good. This was a nice return to form, or return to an appropriate spot for the MJF story, I think.
Yeah, and I like what they did with, like, the simmering thing between him and Wardlow. That was not a one-off. That's something they're going to build with. And cribbing from Chelsea in the Discord, there is no war but class Wardlow. I mean, he's going to be a legend. He's going to be the star. Like, we talked about, like, them going back to WWE guys. Wardlow will be, like, the one on top of the company. Wardlow versus Miro is a match where that might happen. And just thinking about that gets me really excited.
We got a Mox backstage promo. He's talking about Lance Archer winning the Battle Royal. It's the Battle Royale. Everybody called it a Battle Royal on this show, but it's the Battle Royale. and I just want him to get it
Again,
right.
it should be Royale, but everybody's WWE poisoned. All these people have heard Vince say Royale. It's not fucking French or whatever. So
Yeah, but like even
you
I
got to
mean,
break those habits.
literally, it's called the Casino Battle Royale. So I mean,
Yeah.
they got to get it together. So he says it doesn't get easier being the AEW champion. You have to be willing
I
to
do
do
say
anything.
you don't want to dictate the term. You don't want Mox. Sorry, John. They're called superstars. They're not called wrestlers. You don't want that.
Sure.
Like John Moxley's supposed to fuck up how you say it, right? So, but otherwise, people should be saying Royale.
Basically, he cuts a really good promo where he says, I know that Lance Archer, everybody sees a monster, but when our paths cross and this title's on the line, do you really want to bet against me? Unfortunately, this is so late in the show because this would have been a great segue to the MyBookie ad read.
Yeah. Good Mox promo. I felt like that this was Mox in true form, and keep him in like 2 minutes and he's great.
Yeah, he's best on interviews 2020. I don't think it's close.
I had a moment like when this first started, I was like, fuck, this is kind of, we're doing the same thing. Or like every story is like, oh, here's this next big guy. And Mox is like, no, I'm going to do my best and win. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess like, yeah, he's the white meat babyface on top of this company.
Yeah,
like that's what you're supposed to do.
I guess that's professional wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah. So now I'm happy about it again.
Oh, it's like, oh, weird. Captain Tsubasa's team learned how to play together and use the power of friendship to, overcome the Germans. Oh, wow. I can't believe that happened in this manga arc again.
Nate, what if we get Miro and Adidas cross Captain Tsubasa?
Would immediately buy for sure. And should definitely happen. I don't know. Does Miro have a team? What's the Bulgarian soccer outlook?
I want to think that he's like a big Cristiano Ronaldo guy. So he'd be PSG.
Yeah, they shouldn't make some calls, Tony. Come on.
All right.
You definitely got Bandai Namco's fucking phone number.
Thought you guys were going to go on longer with that bit, and it died. So I wasn't prepared.
Well, I went on a hot run of about 20 seconds talking about Captain Tsubasa earlier, and that was all I had.
All right. FTR celebration was next, and then the Darby Ricky Starks thing. And then we went into a women's match. Nyla Rose defeated Tay Conti with the Beast Bomb. After the match, Vicky is there with Nyla Rose. She says, the Vicious Vixens are here to make a statement. They're not going anywhere. And Nyla is about to hit Ty. They made very clear on the show that her name is pronounced Ty. Ty, she's going to get another Beast Bomb. But Sheeta comes out in another great fit on this episode. With the kendo stick, makes the save, and we get the Nyla Sheeta face-off.
Wait a minute. So this means the team name was Ty J, not KJ?
Apparently so.
The whole thing is ruined now. They can't do that team anymore.
No. There'll be Violences Forever. That still works.
I think what happened is, someone who didn't know how to pronounce her name went with Tay J. And now that she's signed, I think she's like,
by the way, it is actually Ty.
She spoke up and was like, I forget who that. There was an athlete recently. I can't remember who it was. Who was like, it was a college athlete. They went like 3 years letting everybody say their name wrong, and then they were like, by the way, now that I've been here a while, my name is actually whatever. So I think that's what happened here. She signed the contract. She wants her name.
Yeah, no, she can't. She can't join the Dark Order now. She's got to ally with Sheeta maybe. Because Team Ty J doesn't make any sense to me anymore.
Well, see, what I think, I really like this. Like, I thought this was a good match, and I'm excited to see Ty go forward. But I think there may be, and I'm going to get excited about this, and they'll disappoint me, but they might be adding a little interest to the women's division where you could have, like, Sheeta's out here to save Ty, and then there's this Ty Sheeta thing, but then there's also this Ty and Anna Jay thing, and that can play off of each other, and they could go some interesting ways with this.
And Sheeta, being like a big Star Wars nerd, probably loves it, and she's like, "Oh, I'm the light side, and the Dark Order is the dark side." And I don't know who Ty is. She's Ray or whatever. Don't care, but
don't know what that means. But sure,
it all works. It was just the name Ray. It doesn't need to mean anything.
She's Ray Zero. Actually, I think it's Re Zero. Actually,
I think it's Re. I think it might be actually pronounced Ray Zero.
I just assume it's Re, like in restart. I think is the idea. All right, we got JR with Kenny. We've talked about that. segment. And then, for the TNT Championship, Brody Lee retained, defeating Dustin Rhodes. Dark Order came out to celebrate. Colt's all excited, but Brody does not want Colt there. Kicks him out of the ring. He and Evil Uno walk to the back. They also did that on the pay-per-view where Colt lost, and so Brody was mad at him, and Uno stuck around to console Colt afterwards. So they're doing that again. And then they held Dustin, and Brody gave Dustin the shattered dreams. Little kick to the nuts there.
Yeah, good little exclamation mark on there. And like the development of the Colt story here, where he, is a little bit clueless, but Brody's not having it. And really, Colt, you got to smarten up. If you're below John Silver on the totem pole, then you got to realize that you're not in a good place to be.
All right. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/everythingelite. This week we had the big all-out instant reaction with Wiccaphase Springs Eternal. We also had Light, which is our weekly show where Mike and I preview Dynamite, review Dark, and Nate gives us what's going on all the vlogs. Fuck, that's like the second time in 3 weeks I've said blogs instead of vlogs. The only
blogs
blog
might be coming.
Effector.
Blogs might be coming back now. The Effector's out. Yeah.
Also, I'm doing daily Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix audio updates. If you're a Stardom fan, you want to check that out. I haven't done today's yet. I'm going to have to do that after this episode, which is exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Next week, we got a good idea. I don't think I'm going to say it yet, just in case it doesn't come together. But there'll be an episode that comes out on Monday, I promise you, and Light. And if you're a member, make sure you go to our Discord and chat with us. We got 3 tiers. If you subscribe at the $5 tier, the middle tier, you get every piece of audio we do and every piece of audio we've ever done. So it's a great value. So that's patreon.com/everythingelite. Next week on Dynamite, we don't know what day it's going to be. We'll talk about the card, and then we'll talk about what day it might happen. FTR versus Jurassic Express, parking lot fight, Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz. The NWA Women's Championship will be on the line. Thunder Rosa defending against Eva Lise. There was some reporting today that Thunder Rosa is on a date-by-date deal. So that's interesting, I think, of where that could go.
Yeah, great to see her back. She's only delivered high-level matches in this promotion so far. So
that's right. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager are going to take on Private Party, so they're really diving into that tag team being a thing. MJF will be in action, and Hangman Page will face Frankie Kazarian.
That's that did get announced on TV? Page versus Kazarian. That's interesting. Yeah.
All right. So next week, what we were told is there would be an hour on Wednesday after NBA, and then the normal 2-hour show on Thursday.
Right.
Now we don't kind of know what day it's going to be based on the NBA schedule. And Cubs fan, I know you're listening. You fucked up, buddy. I tweeted that this all came down to whether the Lakers series went to Game 7. I tweet that. Cubs fan responds, and he's like, bullshit. I've really looked into this. That game was supposed to be on ESPN, so it really comes down to whether that ends earlier, and then there's a Western Conference Finals game that's supposed to be on Wednesday. Well, maybe it's just that TNT doesn't want to go against the NBA Lakers Game 7 even if it's on ESPN, but it does come down to whether that goes to a Game 7. So if it ends before that, AEW will be on Wednesday. But the 1-hour special thing is still going to exist. It's going to air on the other night, and it's something that they're taping. Apparently, it's already taped, I guess, today on Thursday as we're recording. So you're going to get 3 hours of AEW this week. We just don't know which night will be Dynamite.
Well, the one other thing that makes this even more confusing is here are the 2 options. If the series ends in 6 games, it'll be normal Wednesday night Dynamite, and then the 1-hour show is going to be next Tuesday.
Oh, okay. I got that mixed up.
And then, as you said, the plan, if it goes to 7, is the pre-established 1 hour after Game 7, and then 2 hours on Thursday night.
Can't believe you called Cubs fan out like that after they went on AEW this week and beat the Lucha Brothers and the Hybrid too. It's not a good week from him and for him, and you're just piling on.
Well, when you come into my mentions to tell me I'm wrong, and then I defer to you I respect Cubs fan. I was like, okay, Cubs fan probably knows what's going
Cubs
on.
fan, very, very near the skeptic end of the spectrum.
Absolutely. I respect Cubs fan. So I was like, okay, Cubs fan. I deleted my tweet and retweeted his reply so that all my followers would know that I was wrong and Cubs fan was right. Well, I was not wrong, Mr. Cubs fan. I was not wrong. You were wrong.
I wasn't asking you to pile on him more. I was saying have a little sympathy.
Show some decorum.
I love Cubs fan, of course. One of our most devoted listeners, I would say. Sometimes Cubs fan posts about a little thing that we say on the show that nobody else talks about.
Yeah, but now when he hasn't done that in a while, I think, did he stop listening? There was a period there where he was reliably tweeting something I said out of context on his account, like clockwork, and I was like, stop being amused by me talking about redefining masculinity or whatever.
I mean, if we're going to talk about like great moments, like Adam talking about romance being the most important trope, I think redefining masculinity is one of the top ones. So he was right about that.
All right, so that's also going to determine when we're going to have our episode next week, of course. If Dynamite's not till Thursday, then we won't be able to record till Friday probably. So we'll see. They also announced that the Mox versus Archer match is going to happen on October 14.
Yeah.
So that means there will be another world title picture that they'll have to build between that and what is it, November 3rd?
I think it's November 3rd or the 10th, but it's supposed to be...
It's before the election, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it is before the election? Okay. It is supposed to be on the anniversary edition versus the other anniversary edition they had earlier this year of the press conference.
Wasn't the first show on like October 2nd?
Yeah.
Don't remember, but I do think it's neat to do an anniversary edition of your TV show and use that as a reason to do a world title match on television. That's just cool. Make things special if you have a genuine reason to make them special.
So here's my idea. For their anniversary show, they should do 2 different buildings with 2 different sets of fans, but one of them should cost a lot more than the other.
And be a smaller building.
And nothing should happen at that venue.
Yeah, and then don't do anything in the more expensive, more historic building. That's just an idea off the top of my head.
Sounds fantastic. Let's go find a high school gym in Jacksonville. Do it. Just checked. Full Gear is November 9th.
Damn, so it's after the election. So that means it could be a really bad week. Well, it's going to be a bad week either way. Let's be honest.
Just going to be making my bath and maybe sitting out on the porch.
Week-long bath for Mike.
And I'm taking up drugs maybe. So we'll see. All right. Make sure you followed us on Twitter at Everything AEW. I'm at Aaron Like the Car. Nate is at Epitasis. Mike is at Fuji Heya. Subscribe to the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a review on the Apple Podcast app. And please go check out patreon.com/everythingelite. For Mike, for Nate, I'm Aaron. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
No!